topic is implementation. Implementation. In the 802.3 standard, the IEE defines the types of cable, connections, and signals that are to be used in each of the five different Ethernet implementations. All Ethernet LANs are configured as logical buses, although they may be physically implemented in the bus or star topologies. Each frame is transmitted to every station on the link but read only by the station to which it is addressed. So the first top, Thick Ethernet or 10 base 5. Thick Ethernet was the first commercially available form of cabling supported by Ethernet. It is technically known as 10 base 5. Here 10 is the maximum throughput, that is 10 MB per second. Base denote baseband transmission, and 5 refers to the maximum segment length of 500 meters or 1600 feet. This type of cabling allows 100 stations to be connected to it by vampire tape. Figure. Next is RG8 cable. RG stands for Radio Garment. Is the thick coaxial cable that provides the backbone of IEE 802.3 standard. Transceiver, short for transmitter receiver. Each station is attached by an AUI cable to an intermediary device called a medium attachment unit MAU, or more commonly a transceiver. The transceiver performs the CSMA bar CD functions for checking for voltages and collisions on the line and may contain a small buffer. It also serves as the connector that attaches a station to the thick coaxial cable itself via tap. Next is AUI cables. AUI stands for Attachment Unit Interface. AUI is a portion of Ethernet standards that specifies how a cable is going to connect to an Ethernet card. AUI is a physical and logical interface. AUI is defined in IEE 802.3 standard for 10 base 5 Ethernet. AUI connector is a 15-port connector that provides a path between Ethernet nodes, physical signaling, and the medium attachment unit MAU. Transceiver tap. Each transceiver contains a connecting mechanism called a tap because it allows the transceiver to tap into the line at any point. The tap is a thick cable sized well with a metal spike in the center. The spike is attached to wires inside the transceiver. When the cable is pressed into the well, the spike pierces the jagged and shuttering layers and makes an electrical connection between the transceiver and the cable, which means it makes an electrical connection between transceiver and cable when the cable is connected to it. This kind of connector is often called a vampire tap because it bites the cable. It's like a vampire bite. So next is thin Ethernet or 10 base 2. Here 10 is the maximum throughput, base denotes the baseband transmission to maximum segment length. So thin Ethernet, popularly known as cheaper net or thinnet, is among the family of Ethernet standards that uses thinner coaxial cable as a transmission medium. It is technically known as 10 base 2. Ethernet with the same transceiver security has moved into the NIC, and the transceiver tap has been replaced by a connector that slices the station directly into the cable, eliminating the need for AUI cables. Connection. Next, NIC. The NIC in a thin Ethernet system provides all of the same functionality as those in a thin Ethernet system, plus the functions of the transceivers. That means that a 10 base 2 NIC not only provides the station with an address but also checks for voltages on the link. That's the advantages of NIC. It also checks the voltages on the link. Next, BNCT. The BNCT connector is a T-shaped device with three ports, one of the NIC and one each for input and output ends of the cable. Next, thin coaxial cable. The cable required to implement the 10 base 2 standard is RG58. These cables are relatively easy to install and move around, especially inside an existing building where cabling must be pulled through the walls and ceilings. So they are easy to establish and move around. Next, twisted pair or 10 base T. Ethernet over twisted pair technologies uses twisted pair cable for physical layer of an Ethernet computer network. They are subset of all Ethernet physical layers. These cables typically have 4 pairs of wires for each connections, although earlier Ethernet used only 2 of these pairs. So every system is connected over a hub, 10 base T or TP. So the advantages: reduced cost, easy of installation. Disadvantage: shorter range and smaller capacity. So the last topic is StarLAN. StarLAN was the first IEEE 802.3 standard for Ethernet over twisted pair wiring. It was standardized by the Standards Association of the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers as 802.3E in 1986 as one base 5 version of Ethernet. The StarLAN task force was chaired by Bob Galen. So it was the first one. Thank you.